Hi, in this video we will continue the topic of our errors. So you have this Google spreadsheet that collects your errors. There is this dedicated workflow that catches the errors in your n8n. Obviously make sure that it actually catches those errors, so you have to check those executions, the optimal frequency obviously on a daily basis, just because you want this workflow to work itself flawlessly to collect all those errors. And as we did in our last video, in my last video, we just collect the data on those errors, those nodes, the timestamps and so on. We just collect this in Google spreadsheet. And Google offers us this free software which is called Looker Studio, and it is the BI, let's say, tool. It is free and you can connect it to many different sources, and one of them being the Google spreadsheets obviously, or BigQuery if you happen to be more tech savvy and you're collecting your data in BigQuery. So in this case you can even have multiple spreadsheets and you can have them as sources of data, and the sources can be updated on a daily basis, and you don't really need just the errors there. You can pretty much log everything there, and you can visualize all of that using this Looker Studio dashboard, and you can build them. It's a really convenient tool, and yeah, you can just build your visualizations. And I prefer this way. Obviously, I have the traces and Langsmith, but in such a way it is much easier to observe the dynamics of your errors if you happen to have any, especially if you're working on something new. You want to see this dynamics when you fix something. For example, I had an issue here. I had an issue with a node, the code node in JavaScript that was picking some random values for me, just setting some variables, and just didn't work out here. As you can see, is a lot of runs there where I had my errors. Most of them obviously the manual ones because I was testing as, but it was locked as well. And this is really convenient because for live working workflow you want to see this dynamics on a daily basis, observe it obviously, and it is great to see because this blue one, for example, doesn't exist anymore, which means I fixed it. But there's one here, and I will have to make sure. I'm not sure why it's not showing the legend there, the pink one, and I'll have to check what that was because it was today. But as you can see, I had issues with create tweet on the second position. I had issues with Catalina, my AI assistant agent that creates tasks in ClickUp, and a couple of other issues here. Not so relevant obviously because this is my private n8n with my private automation, so a lot of pet projects there. But yeah, I'll show you how to build it. It is really easy. You have to make sure that you collect this data in your spreadsheet in Google, and I will show you how to build this dashboard. So what do we have here? We have yesterday. We have this pie chart. Actually, I think this one has a different time range because it's not changing with this filter here. So I have to make sure that it actually this setting here, the button for time ranges, this selector, it affects all the charts and everything. At this point of time, it just doesn't control this chart and this one, but it changes for my tables here. So what do we have here? So the pie chart obviously for the errors, just to see the majority of those, just to see what's not working. We have the line chart starting in December. We also have, let's check, let's take the last 30 days. We have those tables, and there was issue with the input in the code node. So bad request, service receiving too many requests. This was Peter, and something with credentials as well. And yeah, and the workflow IDs, the name of the workflow, and you see there is another error here that I just got here. I I'll have to check what that is, but yeah, those are my workflows and the errors, so I see the problematic ones, and you can build it for your clients as well, just to observe, because it is really convenient and you don't have to pay anything. It is really easy to build, and you can use the brand guidelines of your client, the theme, the colors and everything, so it will feel and it will look and feel like something native they have. You can even embed it in some kind of a page built on Lovable even. Probably you don't want to do that because you have the authentication with Google here, and so this is a really robust and convenient and also free tool for you to monitor your errors, obviously under the condition that your error workflow actually works. You have to monitor those executions, because if this workflow fails, the one that catches your errors, then the dashboard goes down really. Okay, so let's start. It will be really simple and really fast. So we have this spreadsheet of mine. So the timestamp on the left, right? I have the ID. I have the date there, just a new column because I wanted to transform it. The timestamp, the error message itself, the error stack. I have the last node executed, the workflow ID, workflow name, and also the summary. The summary is being generated by the LLM, but at this point of time, I'm not showing this on the dashboard because it is the whole flow and explanation. But you can ask your LLM to have a limit, like let's say of 50 characters for you, and to use one of the options, let's say out of your list of 10 explanations or something, and you can also create a chart for this. So the options are pretty much limitless at this point of time. So you just go to lookerstudio.google.com, and in my case that would be, that's the starting screen, and you have templates here just to see what's possible, and you have the template gallery, so it is really easy to find something that would work for you, for your case. And those dashboards, the way it works, you just create a blank report here, and you have to connect it to some kind of a data source. So as you can see, it asks you basically about the data connection. So in my case, I would have those data sources here as something that's already available, but let's connect it from scratch. So I have my Google Sheets, and then I have my workflow fails error log, and then I will take my sheet here, use first row as headers. I have headers, and include hidden and filtered cells. I don't really have any there, but obviously this is always on by default. And you can also specify a specific range if you have way too many of those rows and you don't really want to have all of it there. Before we connect it, I just wanted to show you a couple of things that you can enable there. So BigQuery, as we discussed before, we have the CSV file uploads. You can connect it to many Google tools for ads and analytics and so on. You have the YouTube analytics if you have your own channel, really easy, and you can connect many things, and you can have multiple data sources powering the very same dashboard. You have the Postgres here, and also a lot of partner connectors. So it's 1307 at this point of time. There's many of those. There's Shopify, Snowflake, Facebook ads, a lot of things there. SEMrush, so TikTok ads even, but these ones are probably paid because they were developed by Supermetrics, and I think they are selling them. In any case, you don't have to develop anything from scratch, and you can pick one and just use it. And in our case, obviously we'll be looking at the Google Sheets. So again, error log general, yes, add. So now I have this dashboard of mine, no name, nothing. So at this point of time, just connecting this to the data source. So generally speaking, there's a lot of things here that you can do. You can blend the data, have a key between two tables like in SQL, so you'll have the data for the same date, for example. So in this case, you can have some kind of a line chart with data pulled from two different spreadsheets, or even data from Google Analytics from the spreadsheet from some other source. the main thing is just for you to have some kind of a key, so you can kind of merge it all together, and this will be like a union operation in SQL, right? You can imagine it this way. So let's start with the layout. I just like the dark ones, obviously, so I'll just pick this one. And now this is the freeform layout. We can also have the responsive layout if you want this dashboard obviously to work on mobile. If you want to send it over to your clients and they prefer to see this on the go, really cool as well. So the theme is Lagoon, and layout is you can play around, just like US letter in this case, the landscape, the sizes and so on. Yes, a lot of tutorials online about data. Well, the name was Data Studio before, now it's Looker Studio. I think Google acquired them. Okay, so about that line chart. So I'll just use one. As you can see, it's just add a chart here, and you have a lot of different types. And sometimes you have funnels, you have timelines, you have pretty much everything there, including the maps if you happen to have them something, the data related to location or something. So this can be done as well. You can have also the scorecards, the tables. So let's start with the table with some heat map, and let's just place it, let's say here. And as you can see, I can drag it and it will I can center it. Like in this case, you have the ruler here. In my case, I just picked some dimensions for me. For me, it's just the URL of my workflow, which doesn't really tell me much, really. So in this case, I will just replace it with last node executed. That's the one that failed. So I'll just place it here. And random number to pick a row. Obviously, these nodes, the naming is mine. So make sure the naming actually makes sense, not like just Notion, but something more advanced. Or you can even expand it just here, because you have multiple workflows there with similar nodes, like a couple of them for X, a couple of them for LinkedIn, for Epify, whatever. And the names actually are pretty similar. It will be really difficult for you to understand where did it happen. So I will just move here the workflow name as well, and I will just place it here, and we can move them as well. So that would be the first, and then I click it twice here to expand the name. So as you can see, is indeed Goodreads daily quotes posted to my Telegram, and then I will just maybe some there's longer names here as well. And that was the last node executed. That actually I have a couple of those that failed, as you can see. So create tweet and random number to pick a row. So in this case, that was the code node. So, and these are the record counts. So in this case, how many of those records were in my spreadsheet? So namely the errors, so 51. And what's the time range here? That's a good question. In this case, there is no selector here, so you have to add a control. And in this case, that will be the date range control. I will just place it here on top of this table. And this control will, you can set a default value, obviously, like 7 days, 30 days, that will apply to all the widgets on this dashboard. In my case, I don't really need that. This auto date range, it will just pick up the values from my spreadsheet, and will try to understand, the range and give you the maximum there. But you can add it when we publish this dashboard. You can share it, and you can also, this will be a dynamic control for you to change the data in the tables and the charts and so on. I will also place a couple of scorecards, or maybe one only, because I care about number of those errors. Let's say we want this one, and let's place it here. Maybe just make it smaller. You can see it also tries to adjust like a mirror to the height of the very same control here. So record count, and that's exactly the record count, how many of those errors I had in this time range, or whatever that is. In this case, the maximum I have in the spreadsheet, so a couple of months, I think, because I moved out from Render, and now I am hosting my own n8n on Hostinger. So I had 171 errors, so I can also make it look a bit different. So sometimes you can, if there's no data, then it will show no data. The font sizes and everything, so it's not really something that we will just change now. We can change the background of this widget as well, make it orange, for example. You can, stylize it somehow. Probably not a good idea in my case. And you can also make it transparent, so it will be like that. In our case, we don't really need it, and let's just make it white. No, it's a bad decision. Let's just have transparent one. Okay, and we have the header that will be shown on hover, and some basic settings here as well, like the font color, for example. We can make it red, and you can have the title, record count. That doesn't really make any sense in our case. And also we can change the name of this metric here by naming this errors. Yeah, we can do it this way. And we can place it here, for example. And whenever I change it, let's say to 7 days or something, I would see only the data for those 7 days or something, and the table would react as well. Okay, obviously the colors can be changed, the styling, so at this point of time it's blue. You have to find it here, so column color, and we can have it red as well. And yeah, that's pretty basic, I would say. So there's a lot of playing around, and you can make it really beautiful, and you can, it has to tell you a lot. So now we can also place a line chart. Let's go with the smooth one, as in the beginning of this video. I'll just drag it here, and so let's say we care about obviously the date, and we need some kind of a dimension. So that's the x-axis, and we would like to have something for the y. So the number of errors, obviously in this case, so we can name it as well, and we can have all available dates, as you can see, auto, and we can have the zoom, so you can enlarge only one little piece on that chart. And the breakdown dimension, you want this chart to present different errors on the axis of time. So in our case, that could be the workflow name, for example. This might be a lot of data. I'm not sure if it's going to work. At this point of time, for some reason, it just picks. Oh, okay, it picks not the timestamp, but that second column that I just created. So it only has data for 2 days since yesterday. So just replace this with timestamp. Hopefully it's going to work, and it doesn't. Okay, let me fix it, because this is still the date. Should be working. It doesn't work. Due to the number of rows, the chart cannot be rendered. Okay, let's try a default, let's say 7 days here. See if that might be also the case with the breakdown dimension. Let's remove it for now, and let's see if it works. No, it didn't work as well, which is weird. Okay, I resolved it. So unfortunately, when I prepared this workflow here, I'm just dumping the timestamp as it is in n8n. I'm using the variable this function now, and I just don't do anything about it. So I have a really long timestamp with the actual time. So I'm just using the date value here, and I'm extracting the actual date there. And now we'll be using this date instead of timestamp in our chart. And now the chart actually works. So the record count there, and the entire dashboard now works with the date metric not really metric, the dimension, right? And the chart itself, well, we can rename this as well. And as I promised before, okay, we see here that spike that we saw in the very beginning with my basic chart. I'm not sure actually why it worked before, even so I didn't process the data there, and you know, I didn't change the timestamp into date. For some reason it worked, now it didn't. So I just fixed this, and now we have this date, and let's add one more dimension. So in our case would be last node executed, the breakdown dimension here. In this case we'll just see what node actually caused the most of my problems. And random number, as you can see, and create tweet, and something with Notion as well didn't work out really. And there was something else today. The pink one, search tweet. Yes, I am also searching the n8n tweets and saving them for my own purposes. So here we have this, so it works. We can have also optional metrics, so there will be a way for people to select it on the chart, and I can add them here. So your clients, you can add a couple of those, like you know, the workflow ID, you know, for example, where it actually happened, or maybe you just want to see the I have to change this one as well. I have to show them the most problematic workflows we have to fix. So I'm just moving it here as a breakdown dimension, and I see that my Goodreads mostly, and the Kindle one, I have a couple of those workflows that have some kind of an issue. And you know, I can change the styling here. Let's say I want those to be gradients, and I want them to have points, and maybe also I want to have the data labels for, you know, doesn't really make any sense because it's much harder to read now. And then we can have the very same things here for other ones, just to make it beautiful. You can play around with this tool. Obviously it has a lot of options, but the main idea here is that you're just utilizing that really dull way to show your errors, to have some kind of a line chart, just to see if your fixes work, and just to see the dynamics, because in the executions it is really difficult to get this dynamics here. Especially, you know, they disappear after some time, there is no way to export them, and yeah, it's not really a good idea to just monitor the executions in here. So if you dump it somewhere, in this case in Google Spreadsheets, you can build some kind of a dashboard, and you can have a lot of different charts there explaining you basically where your focus should be, you know, the problematic workflows, the problematic nodes, the number of those errors, the dynamics itself, and you can build some kind of a dashboard for your clients as well, just for them to monitor their own n8n workflows. And that's it, and you just clicked on the view, and that's how it looks, that dashboard. And as you can see, this dynamic, interactive, and so on. You can have the downloads there, you can schedule delivery there if you want your clients to have a report on a daily basis. You can even message yourself, you can schedule this delivery and just get this report every day if you don't want to check it out on a daily basis. But this is a really convenient tool, and you don't really pay anything for it. And yeah, you can have the data refreshed. I think I'll show you one more thing. When you have this resource here and you have manage added data sources, in our case this is only one Google spreadsheet there. As you can see, reusable, so they can other people working on this dashboard, they could use this as their source of data, and now it is used for those 3 charts of mine. So that scorecard, the red one in the beginning, is also a chart in a way, and you can edit this. You can also specify what kind of a field is that, because sometimes it can put your date as a string, as just text. So in this case it will be really difficult to do anything about it. and you can rename them and so on, have some kind of aggregation there, the median, the average, and for the actual values, integers in this case. But you have the data freshness here, 15 minutes. You can have it every hour, every 12 hours. In this case, this is a really good option if you don't have real-time data, or if you have those dumps, let's say, every 24 hours, every 8 hours to your BigQuery. So in this case, the data freshness, you don't really have to pull this data that often, because it won't be there. And yeah, these are my credentials. Obviously, this in this case, this data source is mine, and as you saw, it is shareable. Like all the editors of this dashboard, they could use this source of data as well. And yeah, we can have filters here. For example, if you have a really long data set and there are some, there is an email, and you can basically limit it by mail also. So people who would be logging in to this dashboard using their mail, so they would see only a subset of this data, which is also really convenient. And as I said before, really, you can expand the dashboard, you can reconnect it if you changed anything. And again, you can have, I think, unlimited number of those data sources. You can have them linked, and you can pull them all into this one dashboard and just present it to your client. So pretty much with n8n you can collect data from APIs, from OpenRouter, for example, from other places about the cost on a daily basis, for example. You can dump it into the Google spreadsheet as well on a separate sheet, and you can just merge them and have this kind of a operational center, let's say, and you'll have the data, you'll have the errors, you can store some execution data here as well. The sky's the limit in this case. This is a really cool tool. I have my dashboards built for a couple of n8ns that I have, a couple of accounts. And the good thing about this one is that, this error node and this error workflow, it works on self-hosted n8ns and the cloud versions, so you don't really need the traces. It is not about traces related, it is about you manually, semi-manually keeping this data, storing it somewhere, and just presenting this data in a more readable format. Again, I hope that was useful. Play around with this tool, it is great, and it is free as well, which is even better. Thank you for your time, and see you soon in my another video, hopefully end of this week. Bye.